Can you hear it? Do you hear the sound?
Oh, you heard
That's
that?
the crashing and burning at the box office of the Marvels. Woo! Oh my goodness. Now listen, the Marvels opened up in an underwhelming way. Again, listen, many studios, many directors would kill to have a film that opens up to over $45 million. I'm not saying they wouldn't. Absolutely they would. I'm acknowledging that. But it is not the standard of Marvel. It was a disastrous opening by Marvel standards for that. Now, on Friday's open mic, somebody wrote in to me and asked, hey, John, do you think, for those of you who watched open mic on Friday, said, John, do you think that, the same thing that can happen here that has happened with a couple of films, it gets big word of mouth and it starts rolling and it ultimately does well at the box office, i.e. Elemental. Elemental opened to half the money that the Marvels did, but it went on to, get close to $500 million because that movie was so good. And people just kept going back and hearing how good it was and went and went and went. And ultimately the box office ended in a very positive way. And somebody's asked me on Friday, can that happen? Can that happen with the Marvels? And I said, no. But just because, look, and I'm not trash. I'm not trying to trash on a hate on the movie. I basically liked it. I had a lot of problems with the movie, but I basically had a good time watching it. But what I said on Friday's show was, here's the thing. While the majority of the people, this is a statistical fact, while the majority of the people liked the movie, very, very few people loved the movie. And without a higher percentage of people loving the movie, I said, I just don't think you're going to get the big number of repeat viewers. And like we were talking about a little bit earlier, I don't think you're going to say, I said this Friday, I don't think you're going to get the people going out and grabbing their friends saying, hey, listen, Tuesday, we got to go see the Marvels. Or next weekend, set Friday night aside, we're going to go see the Marvels. I got to bring you with me to go see it. I said, I just don't see that happening. So a 60% or more drop is bad. And I said, I think this thing's going to be 60 or more % drop. I didn't think it would be 78% drop from weekend one to weekend two. And I was already being negative. So I don't see this thing turning it around. I don't see it getting its legs. I think it's going to be 60% or worse. But I did not think it would be 78. And you know what? I think it was on Friday's open mic. Somebody wrote in and said, it's going to take a 90% drop. And I guffawed. And of course it didn't take a 90% drop, but holy crap, it got a lot closer to that 90% drop than I thought it would. And listen, we've talked. Listen, I can already hear people yelling this at me. I acknowledge you had 1 week after it opened, you had a Hunger Games movie come out that ate up $44 million at the box office. I acknowledge that. You had a brand new Trolls 3 movie come out that ate up another $30 million at the box office. I acknowledge that. Yes, those are factors. Absolutely. I'm not saying they're not. Okay. But even with those factors, a 78% drop for a major wide release film from weekend one to weekend two that did not make $1 billion or did not hit a $250 million opening, because, the bigger a movie opens like that, you can expect a bigger percentage drop off because more people already saw it. But that wasn't the case with Marvels. Even with a Hunger Games and a Trolls 3 opening up just 1 week later, granted, that does not account for a 78% drop at all. Now, again, I can already hear people yelling at me, John, box office is not the indicator of quality. I'm not saying it is. I mean, for heaven's sakes, Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon, I don't think you're going to find many people who think Marvels is better than Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon. But the Marvels has made more money than Killers of the Flower Moon. So we're not saying that it's an indicator of quality. I'm not saying that. But when you look at all the things that Rob, you and I talked about, the 3 or 4 things that we said months before the Marvels came out, that we listed off, these are going to be the box office challenges it faces. People feel like they're already behind because they don't know who a couple of the main characters are. The state of the MCU is in the worst shape it's ever been in. We're coming off of something like Secret Wars that a lot of people are already now complaining a lot. And I'm going to say this, and it's not provable, so I'm kind of speaking it into the ether, but I'm going to stand by this. In as much that Guardians of the Galaxy 3 made over $800 million, I guarantee you if Guardians of the Galaxy 3 came out in, say, 2018, when the state of Marvel was much healthier and people's perceptions of Marvel was much higher, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 makes over $1 billion. I stand by that. I completely believe that. Obviously, I can't prove it, but I completely believe that. That movie comes out back when everybody was feeling more positive on Marvel. It makes over $800 million. I think the Marvels is just good enough that it wouldn't have come anywhere near the $1 billion mark like Captain Marvel did. But if this movie had come out back in an era when people were feeling more positive about Marvel, this movie makes $500-600 million at the box office overall by the end of its theatrical run. I believe that. Only half of what Captain Marvel did, but better. You cannot, just like we've talked about the failure of a lot of the DC films at the box office, you cannot overlook or ignore the fact that the general feeling towards the average movie-going audience towards the DC product is in the gutter, and that the general outlook of the average movie going towards Marvel is a lot lower than it was just a couple of years ago. But Rob, Ant-Man 3 took a 69% drop. There's everybody's favorite number.
Nice percentage point. Nice percentage point.
Took a 69% drop on from its weekend 1 to weekend 2. And we thought, oh my God, that's as bad as it gets. And it was. Like that's a remarkably big drop. This is 78. And we've talked before, Rob, about with all the things moving around, Marvel now only has one movie coming out in 2024. And that's Deadpool. And then they don't have another movie coming out to 2025. And just like a battered and bruised football team that's got its bye week, and you say, woo, this bye week is coming at the perfect time. This break, aside from Deadpool 3, this break between now and 2025 could not have come at a better time because, oh my God, they need to turn this thing around. And you ain't going to do it. And I say this is again, I'm not hating on Captain Marvel. I'm somebody who generally liked the movie. So don't come at me. But you're not going to turn things around only putting out product of that quality level. You need to get back to putting out the supreme kind of quality that they had before. Again, we talked about the Bob Chapek stuff, but irrelevant. You got to get this thing turned around. Rob, you saw this. 78. Rob, 78. I can't remember the last time, if ever, I've seen a major motion picture, wide release studio thing take a 78% drop from weekend 1 to weekend 2. How do they turn this thing around?
Well, first of all, I'm a lover of the MCU. I loved it. I was so excited for it. Infinity War and Endgame, we've talked endlessly about how much I love those movies. And when I saw this movie, it sort of codified for me what's been wrong with the MCU. It used to be that you'd watch these movies individually, they'd tell you a story, and on the meta level, they would have some kind of overarching, it was a piece to a much larger puzzle. And you could enjoy them from both perspectives. And as the MCU got bigger and bigger and bigger, and they added more and more films, part of the entertainment value was not only seeing what they did with our favorite heroes, but how it would all interlock into the bigger picture. You had Winter Soldier setting up Hydra and things that led right into Civil War, so there was a narrative thrust to the franchise overall. Not just as individual movies, because you had your individual trilogies within the larger picture. When I saw this movie when it was over, like you, it was fine. It was mildly entertaining. This is entirely inconsequential to any larger picture.
Yeah.
It has absolutely no, it is missing a vital half of what the MCU, by the way, the MCU built this up itself. This is not something that I'm imposing on it. It's an expectation that this franchise built its audience with. And I think this phase 4 and 5 with the multiverse None of it was thought through. There's no through line. This movie is entirely inconsequential to anything. And I think that, I mean, I understand, again, my whole, I've always said the Burnett axiom, never put your universe or your agenda before your story and your characters. And the funny thing about this movie was I thought the characters were delightful.
I see, that's the thing. With all the problems I had, I actually thought at the core, the strength of the movie, and all bad movies have their strengths, the strength of the movie was their characters and the interaction and dynamics between the characters.
And not only that, some people have looked at this movie, well, it's a female-centric film and they're looking to promote diversity. I was like, that all worked. This is a movie I thought that it did all of that correctly. I always loved Monica Rambeau in the 80s as a member of the Avengers. She was my Captain Marvel. Iman Vellani is delightful. These three Charlie's Angels of superheroines or whatever they were gold as characters. And if they were given what they were missing was a story to care about, a story that meant something to the MCU as a whole. And then that the audience could have been like, man, this is kick-ass. What's going to happen? It didn't give us either one of those things. It gave us the great characters that were a lot of fun to hang out with, but I could care less. They might as well have gone to a cafe and sat down for 97 minutes.
So basically the opening of, what's the name of the Quentin Tarantino movie? Death Proof? Yeah, the opening scene.
I would have watched that or just gone to a party at Avengers Tower or not gone wherever they're Avengers. We don't know where the Avengers are anymore. We don't know where their base is, but the story that they were involved in, I just didn't care. It meant nothing to me. And when you get to the end, you have these two post-credit sequences. I'm like, one of them, if that's where you're going to go, I don't think anybody cares about that either. And then you've got something that they're setting up that they've already shown us before.
Yeah. Yeah, and Doctor Strange, that they've already, I mean, don't get me wrong. I got a kick out of the post. I did. I got a kick out of the post.
Sure.
Scene. When that one dude shows up, I had a big smile on my face.
Me too.
And the last scene of the movie, well, look, I just think Young Avengers is a stupid idea to start with. But I mean, it was a charming scene. I liked it.
I like the idea of a Young Avengers movie, but not now. There's no reason. Like you could make it the greatest movie in the world. Don't care.
Okay, I want to test something right here with you. I want to test a theory with you, okay? Because you're talking about how you had these great characters, good dynamic between them, but we couldn't care less about what was going on around them. Let me see how far that goes, okay? I have talked about the villain of this movie many times. Right now, at the top of my head, I can't even remember the villain's name.
Darbed.
Okay, it's Darbed. You're right.
Yeah.
It's Darbed. I was going to say, can you even remember the name of the villain? Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Mint Mobile. Signing your life away to a big wireless provider is kind of like being trapped on a roller coaster from hell. Sure, it looks like fun at first. They probably even threw in a free phone, but now you can't get off. Month after month of insane bills and unexpected thrills, like overages and surprise fees. If that sounds like your current big wireless plan, it's time to get off the ride with Mint Mobile. For a limited time, wireless plans from Mint Mobile are just $15 a month. That's unlimited talk, text, and data for just $15 a month. You guys know before I came to Mint Mobile, I was paying triple what I am paying now on the standard big wireless plan, and I will never go back. All plans come with unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. To get your new unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped right to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. I've talked about Darbed 100 times. Even now, I was like,
but here's the thing about this.
That's how little I cared about her.
Do you know what it seemed like to me when I was watching this movie? I'm like, okay, so you got these three female characters together, so now we have to give them a female villain. It just smacked of.
I didn't mind that. I didn't care. I didn't care about that any more than the fact that in the first Iron Man film, Jeff Bridges was a villain because it was a guy. I mean, I didn't care about that. But you didn't do anything to make the character, regardless of the character's gender, because it wouldn't have been any better if the character was a guy.
No, it's true.
They didn't write anything interesting about the character.
Well, I just think that I wanted an interesting story about what Captain Marvel's been doing. They could have given the Captain Marvel character some real gravitas. That's what this movie should have done. but it didn't do that. And I think that it was ill-conceived all the way through. Like, I just don't understand. I'm perplexed by phases 4 and 5 of this franchise in general. I don't get it. I don't understand what they're expecting us to take away from all of it.
No,
because it doesn't
I
work.
agree.
What is the overarching story? I don't get it.
By the way, so my mind can't help it. You know why that Dar-Ben had to be a woman? Because heaven help Disney. If they had the 3 heroes women and they made the bad guy a dude, you know what kind of hate men?
Yeah, you're right.
That would have been, so they kind of had to make the villain a woman, I think. But
Someone was just echoing you.
Yeah.
oh, if it was made
Spicy
villain,
Meme
people would call that
7458
fourth
says that.
Isn't that. Yeah, so that's exactly where they
But
went.
I mean, I'm just saying that just occurred to me now. But what I really wanted was these 3 characters that are charming and their dynamic was great. Put them in a situation. You know, it's funny. They just announced, Criterion announced, not that you're interested, but 4K version of the Heroic Trio and the Executioners, which is a great. It's an two Asian films. Michelle Yeoh is one of the stars of these 3 kick-ass females together. Those movies kick ass, and I can't wait to buy them. Same thing, dynamic of 3 women that kick ass. And I'm like, this movie had these 3 great female actresses that are very appealing and can be very appealing, and their chemistry work really well together, that had no interesting story. I just don't care.
But doesn't that summarize what you just said? Doesn't that summarize the entirety of the MCU the last few years?
Yes.
You have some great, and let's look at a couple of the movies that worked, okay? Let's say at Shang-Chi and Guardians of the Galaxy 3, right? So all these things have like really great characters at their core, sure. But Shang-Chi and say Guardians of the Galaxy 3, they had these really compelling stories. Let's look at Shang-Chi. Beyond Shang-Chi himself, who is a really fascinating story. This guy who's living a secret life, background, all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, it's a story. I love the way this movie started about this man, Shang-Chi's father, who fell in love, a love that changed the course of his life, to reject immortality, to have the woman that he loved and children and all that kind of stuff, and the pain of the loss for that man, losing that woman, and what that did with him and his relationship with his son, his relationship with the world, and what he was willing to do to try to get that back. It's an amazing story. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, characters who we already knew, been through a number of adventures with, but the background story finally being told of Rocket and what this close family is willing to do to save the life of one of their own, and the extent and the ends that they'll go to try to do that. And even for Rocket himself, coming to terms with where he came from and who he was. They told compelling, interesting stories. They didn't just rely on, hey, we got some pretty cool characters. Shang-Chi can kick ass. Guardians, everybody loves the Guardians. And put up whatever dreck you want. They actually put up compelling, great stories to bring these interesting characters on a journey with. If the Marvels had taken these 3 solid characters, and I love Ms. Marvel. I love Iman Vellani. You can't just throw them on screen and say, people are going to love these. No, you got to give them a story to go with, and they just didn't do it.
Well, even when they brought the 3 Spider-Men together, 3 different aspects of the same characters, the only people that would understand what it means to be Peter Parker and Spider-Man are the other Peter Parkers and Spider-Man. Yeah. And they brought them together, and that relationship between the 3 of them, even though it wasn't a huge part of the movie, it was the core of that film.
Was it? Jonathan, can you bring up Isaiah Jones's comment, by the way, if you can see that? Isaiah Jones, I saw this in the live chat. Isaiah Jones in our live chat said they should have focused on Monica's relationship with Carol.
100%.
100%. They kind of set that up. Right? And I'll never understand this. You go back to WandaVision, they set that up. Because remember, somebody mentioned Captain Marvel to Monica, and she brisked at it. And you're like,
oh. That's brisk, baby.
Briskity brisk, baby.
So they set it up. And what do? A 90-second quick convo that just fixed everything. Hey, we needed you. I'm sorry. Okay. And then that was it.
Well, how about the fact that
could have been a great story to follow through in the movie?
Like Monica was a little girl when she met Captain Marvel and then grew up.
Aunt Carol.
And then what is that like? Like, are you delving into that and delve into the fact that what were you doing during the blip? You know, I was gone. I got blipped, and what happened to you?
Yeah.
You had to take care. I mean, there's so much stuff that you could have fixed with, I don't know, a meeting after lunch and talked about this script. It would have been made better.
Anyway, guys, we could talk about this all day, but 78% drop. And this bye week, I know that's a sports term, but this bye week now coming for Marvel could not have come at a better time. Listen, Deadpool 3 is going to make $1 billion.
I've said that, and people are like, you know, Rob, superhero fatigue. It's not. It is.
No.
It is.
It's going to make $1 billion. But then you've basically got between now and 2025, that's it. They need that break. They need to sweep the problems that kind of became an issue once Bob Chapek over, get those behind them, reset themselves, and hopefully, come 2025, come Thunderbolts, come Captain America 4, you know, hopefully, and as whatever, if Blade ever happens, as we're leading into Avengers 5 and 6, whatever those are going to be called, because now we don't even know what they're going to be called. Hopefully that time is going to be something they can right the ship, recalibrate, and let's go. Let's get this thing going again. We used to love this shit.
I know.
So let's see what they can do with a little bit of a break. By the way, Sony right now is going, woo! DC's only got Joker 2 coming out in 2024. Marvel's only got Deadpool 3. That's it. Sony's going to get to put out, well, between now and then, they got Kraven, they got Venom 3 coming out in 2024. They've got the Madam Web.
Across the Spider-Verse 2?
If they can get it out in time, which I don't know that they will. But, I mean, this is an opportunity for Sony. If they can put out some stuff more like Venom 1 and less like Morbius.
Sony's tagline, you've got nothing else.
Yeah. There you go. Hey, so come see Kraven the Hunter. Because what else is there? You want to wait till 2025? So I don't know. We'll see. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.